My dear listener, if I may call you that, I come to you today, not as a lecturer, but as a fellow discoverer, a man who, after years of observation and practice, has touched upon the simplest and most powerful truth at the heart of our existence. And that truth is about you, not about your bones or your blood, but about the silent force that animates them, your mind and your belief. For many years, I was a man lost in a labyrinth of illness. I myself was a victim of what science called consumption. I sought the cure in all external places and remedies, prescriptions, and found only temporary relief, or worse, until one day, through the study of mental influence, I perceived something that changed everything. I discovered that the condition of my body was not a sovereign, independent fact. It was an echo, a faithful and obedient echo of the condition of my own mind. When I entered a state of tranquility and positive expectation, my symptoms would dissipate like fog in the sun. The pain would recede. The breath would flow. This was not magic. It was a law, the most fundamental of all laws. Your belief is the creator of your reality. Let me explain it to you clearly. Imagine your mind as fertile soil. The world around you, with its opinions, its diagnoses, its fears, its prophecies of doom, is constantly casting seeds into this soil. The air is bad. You will fall sick. This runs in your family. It is inevitable. You are weak. This is incurable. Each of these statements, when you accept it, when you believe it, is a seed you plant in your own ground. And what happens to a seed planted and watered with your attention and fear? It germinates, it grows, it seeks, by its own force, to manifest in physical form. And so is born what you call disease. Disease, my friend, is not a foreign entity that attacks you. It is the natural harvest of poisonous flower, of a seed of erroneous thought that you yourself, influenced by the world's error, allowed to take root within you. Look at what happened in my consultations. A patient would come to me, paralyzed by pain, bearing a terrible diagnosis. I did not look at that diagnosis as a fact. I looked at it as an opinion, a belief that had been implanted in that person's mind. My work was not to fight the disease in the body. My work was to go straight to the source, the mind. Through dialogue, I would investigate. Who told you this? Why do you believe it? How did this fear take hold? And then began the true work of healing, the replacement of the belief. I would say to them, with all the clarity and conviction I possessed, what you have been told is an error. What you feel is the shadow of that error. But the truth about you is different. The truth is that you are, in your essence, a spiritual being, connected to the infinite source of life, health, and power. This pain, this weakness, is not who you are. It is merely a thought dressed as sensation. And I would persevere. Explain reason, not superstition. Science, not miracle. It was a science of the mind. I led them to see themselves not as a sick body, but as a mind that had been deceived by a false idea. And when the mind began to yield, when the old belief in illness began to waver, and the new belief in health and spiritual strength began to take its place, something marvelous happened. The body, that obedient servant, followed the new order. The pain ceased. Mobility returned. Energy flowed. People called it a miracle. I call it a consequence. It is the inevitable consequence of planting a seed of truth in place of a seed of error. The explanation, the clear understanding, is the cure itself, because the cure is not something I do to you. It is something that happens within you. The moment your belief shifts from error to truth. Look at the example of the Master, Jesus. The men of his time saw him as a performer of supernatural miracles. I see him as the greatest scientist of the mind who ever walked among us. He understood this law perfectly. When he said to the paralytic, "Arise, take up thy bed, and walk," he was not commanding atrophied muscles. He was speaking directly to that man's belief. He was seeing, with absolute clarity, the perfect spiritual health hidden by the false belief of paralysis. His word was so charged with the conviction of truth that it instantly dispelled the error in the sick man's mind, and the body, freed from that mental prison, simply obeyed. Jesus did not heal diseases. He corrected beliefs. And this is what I tell you now. All the force of the universe operates through the principle of belief. You are using this power every moment, even unknowingly. When you fear, you are using this power to create what you fear. When you doubt life, you are using it to create scarcity. When you believe in weakness, you are watering the seed of weakness. But from this moment, you can make a conscious choice. You can begin to watch the seeds you allow into your mental garden. Every time a thought of fear, of sickness, of limitation arises, recognize it. This is an error. This is an old belief that no longer serves me. It is not the truth about me. And then deliberately plant the opposite seed, the seed of truth, the belief in perfect health flowing from your spiritual source, the belief in the abundance of the universe, the belief in your strength and capability. Do this not as a desperate prayer, but as a quiet, firm declaration. As a scientist of the mind who knows the law, water this new belief with your attention, your faith, your conviction. At first, the old habit of believing the error may seem strong. The body, accustomed to the old order, may still whisper its complaints, but persevere. Because the law is relentless and works for you when you understand it. The new belief, being a seed of truth, has a greater vital force. It wants to grow. It wants to manifest. And day by day, as you feed the truth and let the error starve from lack of attention, you will see the change. First, an internal peace, then a lightness. Next, small improvements, little signs that order is being restored. Until finally, the new belief becomes so rooted that the harvest in your physical life is inevitable. Health, harmony, and a strength that comes not from muscles, but from inner certainty. Remember, friend, you are not a victim of the world. You are not a victim of a fragile body. You are, first and foremost, a center of belief. And what you believe, with deep and silent conviction, the universe takes care to mirror back to you in the form of experience. This is the great revelation. This is the power that has been latent within you from the beginning. The power of your own mind and your own belief. Use it wisely. Use it with love. Use it to believe, above all, in the truth of your perfect, healthy, and limitless being. I have been Phineas Quimby, and I have shared with you not a theory, but the science of the heart and mind. May the liberating truth find a home in your thoughts. Farewell.